Chapter 41. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes, that was really an amazing shop. I gave praises on Bonanza as I headed home. It is still not the evening, but I was already completely satisfied from the previous lunch. It really makes you want to go again. I thought, and shook my head. Delicious food should only be eaten occasionally. I'll go only when there is a reason to do so. Let's have meals in Bonanza only on the day when I sell D-ranked potions. With this schedule, I would be once a week. It's not something which I totally couldn't resist. Yeah, so this is not a bad decision. Also, since I have decided on a day, I could make a reservation. There might be more options to enjoy if I were to make reservations. Imasuk, I'm back. I called out as I went out to the garden. Imasuk was sitting on the branch of the medical tree like usual. Oh. Imasuk did not change, but the area under its feet has slightly changed. Things like mushrooms, grasses which weren't medical herbs were growing. Certainly, the vegetation is getting richer. I got flustered when I was going to step on the mushrooms. But at that time, something strange happened. The mushrooms and the surrounding grass became distorted. It felt as if the entire space was deformed. Frightened, I moved my foot away, and the distortion was restored. However, the space distorted again when my foot approaches it. Is this so? When I enter the garden, I wouldn't crush the plants. Imasuk wiggles. I'm correct. This is great, I'm able to walk freely in the garden. I say so and lie down below the medical tree. The mushrooms, strawberries and flowers become distorted and weren't crushed. The only thing I feel on my back was the soft grass. I look up at the medical tree from below. The sunlight that passes through the translucent leaves dyes the surrounding area in an emerald color. Beautiful, including the fatigue from Bonanza, I fall into a slumber under the medical tree. After waking up, I cleaned my laundry and continued on my diary, which I have slacked off for the past few days. By the way, dinner was taken out from the usual stall. After dinner, I took a bath, and started potion making earlier than usual. Imasuk seems to be interested in seeing me making potions. It must think that it's strange to see a bottle appearing from the air with no chanting. I will be making rank F, rank E, rank D, and some high-level potions. Imasuk starts to get excited. Speaking of which, I had only shown Imasuk the creation of D-rank potions. Saying so, I create a cure injury potion, C. Imasuk is now crouched in front of the light red potion that shines lightly. Its appearance was interesting, so I created a cure disease potion, B, and cure status abnormality potion, A. Imasuk becomes even more excited seeing the potions that shine in blue and green. It got too excited and fell off the branch. I quickly catch it. Are you hurt? It seems to be okay. I thought of showing it a rank S potion, but it would be better to do it next time. It will be troublesome if you fall down again. Imasuk, you can do as you please with the potions I made just now. Hearing it, Imasuk starts making a big fuss. And start guiding me here and there to pour the potions. With a warm feeling, I do as it told. During the process, it asked for some rank F potions, so I made some and apply it to the areas I was told to. The next morning when I woke up, feeling a little scared, I peek through the curtain and look at the garden. The last time, I poured the potion randomly, and 9 medical herbs turned into 1 medical tree and a field full of medicinal herbs. Yesterday, I didn't use a rank S potion, but the amount used should have been comparable to it. This is a forest. The garden's landscape which I glimpsed through the gap between the curtains was something that could not be expressed other than a small forest. The medical tree in the center was about 3 m in height with branches that extend greatly like an umbrella. The surrounding area is covered in thickets about 1 m in height, and only the outer edge of the garden is left as a meadow. It looks like a forest made from bonsai. From first glance, both the herbs and the surrounding thickets seemed to give the forest a dignified atmosphere, but the size of the leaves was actually normal. So, it has an unbalanced feeling when a big leaf is attached to an adult tree. It looks like a diorama made by putting together bonsais. Wow, I feel like a giant dot. Is it Imasuk's blessing? So I wouldn't hurt the plants even when I stepped into the garden. The trees that I was about to step all becomes distorted. And will return after I pass. On the scale, it should be 1 out of 10. If that's the case, the medical tree should be a 30 m tall huge tree. Imasuk calls out when I was exploring the forest. Friend, call, okay. Our conservation has become more or less clearer since our mental path has become stronger. It should be thanks to all the talking we do every day. Friend, what does it mean? Before you call it, can you tell me more about it? According to Imasuk, it seems to be a nice guy with a straight personality. It has the appearance of wearing a thick armor, and Imasuk think it's safer that it is here to help guard the garden forest. Then Imasuk does that means, not to come over and play, but to live here. Imasuk nods. It seems that recently its friend has been persecuted by the elves in the spirit forest, and is now having a hard time living there. If that the case, it's fine. I don't like the elves as well. They look down on others, and even made fun of Imasuk. It wasn't a bad idea to become Sujihara-chun of spirit forest. If that's the case, I don't mind. I hope it will be okay living here. Saying that, Imasuk replies saying it's okay and is sure it would like it. It looks pretty confident, he must really take pride in this forest. Imasuk asks to put it on my hand. On my palm, Imasuk asks me to bring it down near the ground this time. When I place my hand close to the ground, Imasuk stopped moving as if it were concentrating. A few seconds later, a small disk of light appears near the ground. From there, Imasuk's friend appears. Is this a pill bug? The size and shape were the same as the pill bug known to me. The pill bug turned to me and crouched a little after communicating with Imasuk. Since the mental path is connected only to Imasuk, I do know what it's trying to say. It's probably something like a greeting. Well, please make yourself at home. I said, and put Imasuk onto a nearby branch. I hope we can get along well. While having breakfast in the room, I watch both of them converse. Speaking of persecution a while ago, the elves were probably trying to get rid of the pill bug as an unpleasant pest. They seem to place beauty and cuteness above the ecosystem. Oh, isn't it the same for me? I can't be talking about others. I remembered removing the camel crickets during the period when I was the site foreman, even though they did no actual harm. Well, I'm not God. So it is normal that I have likes and dislikes. Deceiving myself, I sipped on my tea. Served with tea, were the fruits made by Imasuk. In addition to the strawberries yesterday, figs have been added as well. It was comical when the 1 m high tree ripe with normal-sized purple fig was deformed. By the way, both are very tasty. They were freshly picked this morning. After breakfast, I read a book on pharmaceutics. I started reading it recently because the minimum knowledge is necessary when I would pretend to be a pharmacist. The bookshelves are still empty, but the books are starting to pile up little by little. Even in this aspect, it was great that I have moved from an inn to a rented house. When I was reading, Imasuk called out to me. What is it, Imasuk? When I enter the garden forest, the pill bug approaches and lowered its head. According to Imasuk, it seems that it has taken a liking to this place and wants to live here. Ah, of course I do not mind, I agree. Then there was a request from Imasuk. Stones, I want. According to Imasuk, there wasn't a single stone in this garden forest. Well, since it was once a field, there won't be any stones. Aside from Imasuk, it seems to be a big problem for the pill bug. Oh, right. They like to be under rocks. I remembered the pill bugs in Japan. Whenever a big stone is moved, it will be full of them. It's a trait for them, and it will not be able to calm down in a place with no rocks. Okay, I'll go get some now. I put on my cloak and went outside. My destination was the gardening store I saw in the shopping district. You may think that you can just find rocks lying around, but that's not the case here. As expected of the royal capital, all the roads are covered with cobblestones. The unpaved land was mostly the garden of a person's house or a public flower bed. There's no way I could just pull out the cobblestone, and even if I want to, I can't remove them without tools. If I were to go out of the royal capital to just pick up rocks and line up in the entrance line, I would be better to just buy them at the gardening store. I have bought it. I, a weak person, paid for a carriage which cost higher than the stones, now hold 2 bags of stones in both hands. Of course, it is heavy and can't be moved to the roof all at once, so I had to go back and forth through the stairs several times. The pill bug seems to have liked the stones, and immediately digs into the ground towards the stone. Imasuk, what about the food for the pill bug? It's almost noon, so I asked before heading out. According to Imasuk, they eat fallen leaves, dry grass and soil. I pointed out that there would not be any fallen leaves from the medical tree, but the trees other than the medical tree seem to have fallen leaves. Anyway, I wouldn't need to prepare new food. With peace of mind, I went out. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes. I walk down the red light district. There are many people eating in the stall, even though it is still early in the daytime. It's a scenery unique to the red light district. Most of the people who are eating are people tied to the brothels, and are having their meals before their shops opening in the afternoon. That person, her complexion is bad. I look towards a woman. Her complexion is pale and there are bags under her eyes. It feels the same as Twintails when she was sick. There's a possibility. I start thinking. First, the inferior aphrodisiacs are still circulating and damage still continues. The other is that the aphrodisiacs were used before the changes were in place, and had not yet been cured. In any case, if it's a woman working in a brothel, I'd like to cure them. Thanks to the brothels, my life after coming to another world is full of colors. So I would like to be able to help them even if it's just a little. I ordered a drink from the same stall and waited for her to finish her meal and leave. I leave my seat and follow slowly behind her. Now, which shop do you work at? Due to the recent visits to the brothels, my intuitions have been refined, so I can tell that she is a member on the platform. 10-1, there's no doubt. Soon she went to the back entrance of a nearby brothel. The store is still not yet opened. As I thought. Feeling a little satisfaction for hitting the mark, I wandered around for lunch before the store opens. After killing time until noon, I came in front of the brothel. It seems to have just opened. As for the store, it's a third class. I judged from the appearance and location of the building. I have only gone to brothels near the higher class, so this will be my first time to enter a lower class one. I open the old cheap-looking door and enter the store. Welcome. The concierge was a grandpa. Thinking that the platform will be filled with grandmas, a fear runs through me for a moment, but I quickly regained my posture. But the woman whom I followed just now should not have been that old. I look towards the platform. It's a small platform. There are only 5 women, and the woman from before was also there. I sigh a relief, seeing that there weren't any grandmas. The ones who look sick are, those 3. More than half of the platform seems to be in poor health. I look around. There are no customers other than me. Well, customers will not have come after seeing the atmosphere of the platform. That. I call the concierge and picked the 3 people with bad complexion. The concierge was surprised that I picked 3 people who were in a bad condition. But quickly show an expression saying he understands. And tell me in a small voice. As you can see, these ones are in quite a bad condition. So the price would be like this, picking the ones in poor condition and pays a cheaper price than usual. It seems that he has misunderstood my intentions. I don't need a discount, but I'll happily take it since you are giving it. I can just add the discounted price into the tip. Tips are individual shares. The girls should be happy with it. I confirm the amount suggested by the concierge and takes out my guild card for payment. The concierge looks a little dismayed. He must not have expected me to pay the amount he suggested in one shot. And he is now preparing to further negotiate the discounted price. After paying, I look at the concierge. Although looking a little puzzled, he's happy. The sales must have fallen recently. Well, it would be the case since the women were in poor health. Surrounded by the three, I went up the stairs. After entering the room, I decided to treat them one by one. And I'll have the other two to have a drink on the sofa. First, will be the woman which I had followed. I instruct her to lay flat on her back on the bed. An OL. If you look at her closely, she resembles an OL working at a mobile shop. Her appearance, style, was all medium. I feel a strange familiarity with her. I started grooming by rubbing her two hills. I want the OL to think that this was my one-sided teasing. It feels better for her to not move because of her bad condition. When the top of her hill stiffen and her body begins to swell, I cast Cure Status Abnormality spell, F. Like I thought, it's the same. It feels the same as Twin Tails. At the same time, I get the sense that she was cured. Should I use Cure Disease spell, F, just in case? When used, there was a sense of penetration, and she is now completely cured. Though just a little, it seems she had caught an illness. It's easy to catch a cold because of the decrease in resistance due to the poor physical condition. Now, the treatment is over and it's time for fun. I started persistent grooming while watching OL's light circulation and color temperature. And the dark yellow areas started changing. The OL seems to be completely comfortable now. Next will be the MILF with her hair pulled back in a bun. I called the slightly tall MILF and lay her up next to the OL. Large beds are a unique trait to the brothels. Oh. She must have prepared herself after seeing it just now, she's already shining a bright orange color. I started grooming and treating the MILF while keeping her from coming. The MILF is the same as the OL. Is the aphrodisiac really the cause of it? Apparently some of the customers in this store were using that inferior aphrodisiac. I pull away from the wife who was now a thread away from her upper limit. The MILF who was left behind, clings to my arm, but the treatment of the third person comes first. Calling over the third person, I have a lie down next to the MILF. Now, 3 women were laying on a king size bed in the shape of a river. The last one is this girl with a French braided red hair. She's the youngest looking. And she has lots of freckles, giving off a strong impression of a country girl. I brushed her French braided hair to the side to not get in the way, and started grooming and treating her. This girl is also the same as Twin Tails. This red hair French braid is also a victim of the aphrodisiac. The criminal should be quickly apprehended, so there wouldn't be any more victims, but I can't speak too early. There is a possibility that the remaining drugs can be used for other drugs. I will give some advice to the concierge later. But still, this is, after the treatment was over, I continued playing with the red French braid. The red French braid has her mouth open in surprise, she must have never experienced such high skills. Since she has no resistance, her subsequent reaction was great. The red French braid lying on her back under me, bounces powerfully every time she was rubbed. I wonder if she helped in the farming works in the countryside, her legs were powerful. It's like rodeo. It looks as if I were straddling an untrained bear horse. It feels as if I'm riding a rodeo machine and it feels kind of fun. No matter how young and how strong your legs are, you have only just recovered. I shall quickly let you be at ease. I thought so and pressed down her bouncing body. I thought about the remaining time and planned to finish it quickly and move on to the next one, but it didn't go that well. This feels so good. The taste of the red French braid was very fresh. Simple and unadorned, and despite being young, she clings her teeth and moans in a loud voice. To describe it, it will be country bride. I didn't have one, but if I was to be married to a friendly childhood friend in the countryside, would my night life also be like this? And I looked to the side. Oh, Mrs. I see you have started yourself. The OL with her flushed face was only looking here while breathing heavily, but the MILF has started pleasuring herself. Seeing this, I start imagining. In an old house in the countryside, voices can be heard through the thin walls. And the parents, who heard the voice, secretly came peeking on their son and his wife. I imagined the scene and thoroughly enjoyed the time with the red French braid. Unfortunately, the time was up the moment I pour every last drop of my love into the country bride. The MILF requested for an extension, but I politely refused. This is a once-in-a-lifetime meeting. I leave the room while receiving gazes from the MILF. And I talk to the concierge in a low voice after going out. I think the condition of the three should have improved. And the concierge makes a face stating he didn't understand. Of course, with just this alone he wouldn't understand what I am saying. I am acquainted with the concierge of JN. I throw out the name of a first-class store. Hearing the name, Grandpa Concierge became a little more serious. They really have a considerable position in the industry. Their symptoms were very similar to those who are affected by the inferior aphrodisiac. The grandpa is taken aback. Whether by notification or rumor, is the information circulating? Whether it's something in the past, or still going on, I do not know. I told him to be careful. From here on, it will be the store's responsibility. Whether is it to check the records and customers like JN, or another method, it will depend on the store. Grandpa, who has noticed the potential of it being the aphrodisiac, has a blue face. Turning my back, I left the store. I start thinking while walking down the red light district. The damage on the lower class store should be much bigger. Just from the previous store, more than half of the women on the platform were in poor condition. There are other reasons for the cause, like the customer base and the store's management. And surely, the women working in lower class stores have less income compared to those working in higher class stores. Even if it is proved that the aphrodisiac is the cause, it will be difficult for them to cover the cost for treatment. Alright, let's go around the lower class stores, and pick the ones who seem sick and treat them. The objective from now on has been decided. With this amount, the dancers of go-go bars and women going in and out of dating aid coffee shops should also be suffering from the damage. But I don't feel like targeting those places. I will only reach out a helping hand to places that are within my reach. I walked around in search of the next lower class brothel. After that, I went to one store before dinner and two after dinner, and returned home after midnight. The garden forest is completely dark, so I didn't step in it and change into my pajamas. I dive into bed, and thought about the things that happened just now. As expected, there are more people suffering from the poor condition in the lower class brothels. Nearly half of the people in the stores I went to were in poor condition. I picked all the people who seemed to be in a bad condition, and the surrounding customers look at me with disgust, but I ignored them. After going into the room, I was making miracles one by one. Not only aphrodisiacs, there were also women who were suffering from other conditions, but were all cured as well. If F-rank magic was not enough, I used E-rank and D-rank ones. There's no reason to hesitate. Albeit small, I was able to illuminate a corner of the world. Due to fatigue, I fell asleep quickly. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes. The next morning, I received a request from Imasuk. It seems that the pill bug wants to be my kin. Kin. I examined this unfamiliar word. I understand the meaning of the word, but I have never thought of myself having a kin. Imasuk, are you also my kin? Of course, was its response. It's fine. It's not a bad idea taking care of the pill bug as my kin. Okay, I'll accept pill bug as my kin. In front of me, the pill bug happily curled up. However, it would be inconvenient to keep calling it a pill bug. Let's name it as a proof of becoming my kin. I shall grant you a name. From now on you will be called Dangaru. And it curled up again. It's faint, but I feel that a wave of joy has been transmitted from Dangaru. I ask Imasuk. Imasuk, has the mental path between me and Dangaru connected? It seems to have connected. Now, I'm sure that was Dangaru's feeling just now. After that, I spent all morning deepening the interaction with my family. Imasuk, I will be going out. I will probably return late, so as the leader please take care of the garden forest. I receive a quick response from Imasuk. It seems as if it was saluting. From then on, after I left the house, I have played an intensely active role. I went to 3 brothels after lunch, and 2 after dinner, and chose women who were in bad health. Of course, I wasn't able to pour into every single one. At most, 1 person a store, and sometimes even without pouring, and ends with just grooming and treatment. The brothels are not only limited to the lower class but also the middle class. Staggering tiredly, I went home at midnight and went to the garden. Imasuk and Dangaru may be sleeping, but as the head of the family, I must also tend to the garden forest. I spread a bit of potion onto the garden. Since F rank and E rank ones are almost used up, D rank and C rank ones are used. Dangaru, who has crawled out from under the rocks, looks interestingly at the faint glowing potion. This should be enough. After saying it, Imasuk transmit a feeling of gratitude. It is still weak, but Dangaru as well. After doing what needs to be done, I dive into bed and slept right away. The next day, the routine is the same. In the morning, I interacted with my family members. The topics were about the situation of the garden forest, if there was anything lacking, and also about spirit beasts. And before noon, I leave the house again. And with the mission of saving the girls in the brothels of the royal capital, I continued my journey. As I continued my journey, a concierge from a certain store says to me with an inspiring tone. "Oh, Dr. Slime has come to our store. Dr. Slime, is it me? But why a slime?" A question mark floats atop my head. I decided to ask the concierge. Is Dr. Slime referring to me? Yes, that is right. That is the way we have been calling you. Is it not all right? He looks up towards me. I can't answer whether it's good or bad, because I don't know the reason why. But why Dr. Slime? According to what I've heard, there's a customer who can cure women who are sick or in poor physical condition. That's me. And that person is also a renowned pharmacist. I don't remember calling myself in any of the brothels recently. No, I'm paying with my guild card, so it's most probably inquired from there. But, renowned, I don't remember making my name this big. But I suddenly realized. Is it the case of me selling the cure status abnormality potion, for Dalba? The old man from the merchant guild did mention about telling Dalba about me. Well, can't be helped since it has already happened. So, why slime? The concierge responds after thinking for a moment. There seemed to be a mysterious type of slime that heals other creature in this world, and it is called a slime. I don't know why, but I feel like that wasn't actually the reason. If it's just healing, isn't there other things other than slime? And why is it a monster? Not human. Putting aside, I still don't know why slime. According to Telmano of the Magic Academy, Dr. Slime produces a medicinal ingredient similar to potions in their body. So, as a pharmacist, you are named Dr. Slime is what I think. Tell Mano. I remembered. I've seen him before when I was selling potions at the Merchant Guild. He's a pharmacist who was showing off the shining C-rank potion that he is delivering with his nose high up in front of everyone. And his mouth bent greatly. That bent mouth, saying unnecessary things. Although what he said made sense, I feel that that was something more of it than just this. And I heard that the first person who started to say slime, was the princess of a certain brothel. He shakes his head left and right stating that he didn't know the reason as to why. BVEC, I won't get any more information even if I continue asking. And I came here for treatment. I can't forget my purpose. I understand, thank you. Then, I would like to start picking now. I thanked the concierge and picked 2 women who seemed to be unwell. Entering the room, I asked the women. I'm curious as to why I am called slime. It is said that it was a woman who started using it. So they might know something. That's because, and the 2 of them started trusting each other with their elbows. Bingo. As expected, they know something. I start putting pressure on them. I know that you girls know. And continue to speak while reaching for my belongings. If you don't answer me, I'll leave. The effect was dramatic. It was a big difference from when they were hesitating. However, they ask me to not feel angry or leave without treatment after they tell me the reason. From their words, I'm convinced that it would be some stupid reasons, but I promised them. And according to what the relieved girls had say, when they are first touched, the feeling was terrible. However, it gets better gradually. And in the end, they are taken in and melted. Like a creature which has been preyed upon by a slime. And that's the reason. I was so mentally shocked that I fell on the bed. When they are first touched, the feeling was terrible, that part, deeply pierced my heart. I felt my heart broken, but I have promised the girls and couldn't leave without treating them. It must have been hard to say. I'm sorry. The girls become relieved after hearing my words. Even though I have lost my spirit, I have promised them, it will leave a bad taste if I were to go back. Then let's get started. First I look at their state using Cure Status Abnormality spell, F, and Cure Disease spell, F. Fortunately, the first girl was fully recovered. And after that, I did it thoroughly so as to not put shame onto my 2 titles. I took her in and completely melted her. Specifically, grooming using my magic surpassing her near the limit and detoxification. And by releasing her from there, her soul is launched high into the sky. Normally, I would let her land softly, but I continued firing my straights like an anti-aircraft gun, not allowing her to land. She was not even once allowed to land. Not until she's completely melted. Seeing the dreadful scene of her coworker, the other girl loses the strength in her waist. And begged me. The treatment, just the treatment is fine. I smiled, and gently say. I'm not a magician, so I can't use healing magic. She tries to say something, but swallows it and points to her colleague. As a by-product for going so far, their bodies are cured. I don't know the reason why though. It's a lie. I cured them using magic. However, the story was that they are healed by my comfortable massage. If I don't go this far, their bodies wouldn't be healed. If I don't make them think so, I will most probably end up working like a slave. I can't let them know that it can actually be done with the flick of a finger. The only ones I can heal are the ones that I picked at a brothel. It is limited to only that. So, what will you do? She hasn't been treated yet, of course, according to the story. If you are not melted, you will not heal. At the end of pleasure, you will be granted with a treatment. Being forced with a decision, she decided to receive the treatment. I'll do it. I'll do it. Damn it. I screamed in my heart as I headed to the next store. I had completely melted the girl from before, not leaving a fragment behind. From my experience, she won't be able to stand for 2 days. The feeling was terrible, had hurt my heart. In return, I will now completely melt down my partner during treatment. I, who have become aggressive, breathing roughly, entered the next store. From there I became a stew craftsman. In return for treatment, I melted them completely. As a result, the name Dr. Slime, which was only partially earned, has now become completely established. A few days later, after covering most of the low and middle class brothels, I arrive at the Merchant Guild. I had been called. When I was taking out my guild card for payment at a restaurant, I receive a message written in red. This card really has a lot of features. When I stepped into the Merchant Guild, I was exposed to an unrelenting line of sight. Dr. Slime. Such words leak out with a sigh from the surrounding. The men in the Merchant Guild were looking at me in awe, both the customers and the staff. Similarly, the female staff members and customers were looking at me with both a flicker of fear and interest regardless of age. I am now completely a celebrity. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes, I was called for from the Merchant Guild, and now I am in the guild's reception room. It is a high-class and elegant room appointed with antique furniture. By the way, the sofa that I was now sitting on has a fine pattern woven into the fabric. To be honest, I was hesitating on whether or not to sit on it when I entered the room. For me, who has only experience selling at the counter, this is a different world. I'm sorry for calling you when you're busy, Toro. Santa Claus came in. The tough-looking old man as well. Since both I and Santa are meeting for the same time, we introduce each other. He was the vice guild master of the Merchant Guild. After introductions were finished, coffee was carried in. The female staff who bought in it looks at me with curiosity, but never makes eye contact with me. I wonder if she thinks that something would happen if she makes eye contact with me. Putting the rude staff aside, I went straight to the main subject. Questioning, is it? Honestly speaking, yes. Santa affirms. It has been rumored that I have been treating women who were feeling unwell in several brothels in the past few days. And it is also said that the cause of them being unwell was because of an inferior aphrodisiac. I picked several women with poor physical condition, give them a perfect treatment which even made them unable to stand, yet not receiving any payment fees, and also advising that the cause is the aphrodisiac. The brothels are very curious about who I was. And it turns out that I am a member of the Merchant Guild because I was using my Merchant Guild card for payment. However, the Merchant Guild doesn't know anything, so I was called in for questioning. This must most probably be the reason. I was acting freely without giving any thought. So I never imagined being called in by the Merchant Guild. Suddenly, receiving inquiry from the brothels, the Merchant Guild must have been thinking about what had happened. But my actions have nothing to do with the Merchant Guild. I was just using my guild card as payment though. So, I should not be blamed. As the word says, this should just be a questioning. I honestly talked about what I had experienced so far. Originally, I had a technique to cure poor health condition by massage. With that technique, I cured a woman working at JN. I studied at JN because I wanted to improve my skill. In the process, I found and treated a woman with poor health condition due to an aphrodisiac. At the same time, I found another, and also found out that one of the customers at that time was using aphrodisiac. Oh, that matter. Santa seems to have remembered it. The tough-looking old man looks at me with a subtle expression. Maybe he thought about the time when I have an amazed look when he was talking about the aphrodisiac. I continued my explanation. I found a woman who was also in poor health in another store, and when I looked into it, I found out that it was the effect of the aphrodisiac. And, with the reason of treating women who are affected by the aphrodisiac, I went around brothels this few days. And that's it. After listening to my explanation, Santa speaks to the old man. They must have been satisfied with my explanation. There was no difference with the information that the Merchant Guild acquired. Monitoring the circulation of illegal goods is also one of the merchant guild's roles. Santa says. This time, we are sorry that you have helped us clean up our mess. Santa and the old man both bow down their heads. We would like you to thank you once more. Thanks to your, Toro's, actions, the Merchant Guild was able to maintain its reputation. The control of illegal drugs is under the jurisdiction of the Merchant Guild. This time, it can be considered that the inferior aphrodisiacs were circulated in the Merchant Guild. Anyone who wants to criticize the Merchant Guild is able to state so. But I, who was a member of the Merchant Guild even though I was at the lowest rank, was able to counter it and prevented damage. If it were to be said that I was moving according to the Merchant Guild's order, criticism can be sealed off. And this is a proposal. With this time's achievement, I would like to upgrade Toro's rank from F to E. I am a little surprised. E rank merchants are considered intermediate. During F rank you will be doing business and building trust, but in order to rank up a certain scale of commercial transaction has to be made. Someone like me, who was just in F rank for less than a month, and delivering potions personally with no employee, it's not a rank which is possible for me. Even if the potions I deliver are a relatively rank D rank 1. For me, there is no merit for going up to E rank. There would be an increase in the amount that can be loaned and will also receive a preferential interest rate during the time of loaning, but I have no need for a loan. Even if the frame of margin transaction was to increase, I'm not conducting margin transactions in the first place. On the other hand, I do not know how much, but it will be my loss with the increase in membership fee. But as a merchant guild, they have to provide a reward for those who have done well. And for others, ranking up is a reward which is considered too much. Refusing it will mean crushing the honor of the merchant guild. If someone were to ask for a rank up without achieving anything, they will be looked at disgusted. It's safer to accept it. It's an extravagant reward for me, but I'll accept it. I bow my head. The both of them seem to be relieved. The merchant guild raises my merchant rank. And it was decided that I was moving under the merchant guild's order. And that's the end of this matter. But Toro, why didn't you charge fees for the treatments? After that, we were talking idly. Santa asks me about the treatment at the brothels. About that, I did gain value from it. Value is it? Santa's eyebrows express his doubts. Yeah, I was feeling good as well. I answer while sipping coffee. Is there no relevance between the massage and you feeling good? Oh, so this question came. Okay, I'll take this opportunity and explain. No, there's relevance. Rather, they are inseparable. Inseparable. Yes, there are many people who misunderstood, but I cannot cure them with just massage alone. What does it mean? I explain. Two conditions are necessary for the treatment to be successful. Santa and the old man nod while they listen interestingly. First, the women have to be satisfied at the final phase. And the other is that I am satisfied. And combining these two, it will form a therapeutic effect. The old man counts using his fingers and his face turned blue. I think he's counting the number of bullets I've shot during the process of treatment. But that's not it. I picked multiple and at multiple stores, repeating it every day. Biologically, such amount of bullets cannot be shot. Most of them are just melted without me shooting. Well, it's not something I have to say deliberately. I continue to explain about the treatment, ignoring the old man who was still counting as his complexion worsens. There are people who often say that they only need treatment, and do not need a massage, or when they are cured, they do not have to continue it to the end. I wave my hand in front of me. But I can't do that. If I do not continue to the end, including the massage, the treatment would not be in effect. And that's the setting of the story. This way, I'll be able to retrain those who only seek treatment. When that happens, I can say I also very much want to treat you, but my son is not in the mood. And refuse them. The truth is I do not want to treat someone who is not able to get my son in the mood. I see. The two seem to be convinced. After that, we continued idly chatting. It seems that they are already rapidly narrowing down the criminal now. It seems like it was thanks to me advising the lower class brothels on the cause of the poor health condition, which they didn't know the cause of. By collating the girls who were feeling unwell and the brothel's guest list, the results are emerging. In addition, by integrating the information gathered by each individual brothel, it is possible to now see the whole scale of the crime. It seems some people have already been arrested. The large-scale illegal drug manufacturing and sales organization was also appearing and disappearing, and the knights are now also starting to move. Is it possible that the criminal organization will be aiming for my life? Since the case is getting bigger, I started feeling anxious. Santa and the old man looked at each other. I won't say that it's not possible. Santa is really saying something scary. After a while, he says and continue. You don't have to worry about it too much. Santa says, in the first place, this all started because of the bad side effect of the inferior product. I found the cause and treated it. In other words, it wasn't me at the forefront of digging out the organization. Now, if they were to take my life, the pursuit will not slow down but rather the opposite. That seems to be the case. But it is true that Toro's name is well known because of this case. So it will be possible if they bear unjustified resentment towards you. Santa says strictly to me. For the time being, until things settle down, you should stick to only going to brothels. As I thought, there are security problems for facilities below the go-go bar. Fixed stores that manage their employees can greatly improve the quality of their security. And also, the brothels are your allies, Toro. My allies. Santa nods. The owners of the brothels are deeply grateful to you. If the obligated Toro was to be injured while visiting one of the stores, that store would be sacked by the others. Is that so? This time I saved a few girls. And I'm also aware that I am a regular who pays properly. But do they have to go through this much trouble just because of this? There is no doubt about it, because that was said by Jian's concierge. Santa says and laughed. And I left the merchant guild. What should I do from now on? After lunch at a restaurant, I received a call from the guild when taking out my guild card to make payment. Because of the long stay at the merchant guild, it was now already past the afternoon. Let's go to Jian after a long time. From the chat with Santa previously, it seems that the concierge there has goodwill towards me. In addition, there is no need for me to go around brothels for treatment. Both the merchant guild and brothel industry are moving. If there is a woman with poor health, the organization will take measures for the treatment. And so I'm not needed anymore. I'm only active during the period before things started to move. Okay, let's go. I walked towards Jian, with the figures of Instructor Light Cruiser and Explosive 1E.San in my mind. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes, welcome. When I arrived at Jian, a familiar gentlemanlike concierge warmly welcomed me. However, there's a strange tension in the lobby. Probably from the moment I entered. He's here. He's finally here. Dr. Slime. How? Who will it be? Along with the whispers, stinging gazes were directed from the sideline. But when I look over, everyone looks away. The tension transmits from the sideline to the platform, and it gets nosier. And customers, who noticed me, make way for me. What's this? I'm the one saying it, but it feels as if I'm a bad presence here. For the time being, I found Explosive 1E.San in the sideline, so I approached her to ask. I wanted to question her about the situation. It is not yet decided whether I want to pick her or not. Wait a minute. However, thinking that I was going to pick her. She starts panicking. I'm happy that you are picking me, but please wait. I need to prepare myself before being your partner. And I also have my school schedule. It's alright if it is a day off tomorrow, but I have lessons tomorrow. So if I am to be your partner, I'll most likely not be able to attend school tomorrow, so please wait. She's definitely in a panic. It's my first time seeing her like this. And the other customers who saw it sent me a look of reverence. It was as if they were looking at a hero, like Lindbergh, who made the first solo transatlantic airplane flight. Seeing the super dynamite sexy lady, the dreadnought who represents the store in this miserable state. Comparing themselves to me, they may be viewing me as a higher existence. I give up on questioning her and headed to the platform. Meanwhile, the sidelines are all facing down. It's as if they are students who are avoiding being picked by the teacher. And now, I'm finally in front of the platform. I'm at a loss for words. All the women are sticking with their back to the wall. There's no one in front of me. Looking back at the concierge, he was holding his head. I guess I'll give up on this store today. While I was monologuing with loneliness, Sensei appears from the back of the platform. The most professional on the platform, and an existence who guides others. It's Light Cruiser Sensei. Sensei heads straight towards me. It has been a long time, Toro-sama. Sensei smiled. It's the usual Sensei. After turning a cold glacé towards the sidelines and her colleagues who were sticking to the wall for a moment, Sensei talked to me with a smile. I'm sorry for the trouble you received this time. If it is alright, I'll be happy to be your partner today. She shows a smile, which as usual has illusions of flowers blooming in the background. I immediately answer. Yes, please. I talked with Sensei while paying at the reception. According to Sensei, she's in the middle of educating apprentices who will leave the nest soon. And hearing that I have come, she came and say hello, but because of that situation. I am very sorry. Sensei apologizes on behalf of her colleagues. No, it's okay, don't worry about it. I'm sorry for interrupting you in the middle of teaching. Saying so, my vulgar brain cells flashed. I have a suggestion, how about using me for that teaching? What does that mean? I make a proposal. In front of the apprentices, I and Sensei will have a serious match. I think that having them watch a high-level match up close will surely help them improve. My real intention is different. Playing with Sensei in front of the students. This is my true motive. I will make the usual solemn demon instructor satisfied with my skill. Fantastic. And sometimes, I will show myself being satisfied with Sensei's skill. And expose my ugly state to the students. This is the best. While waiting for Sensei's reply, my breathing becomes rough. After thinking for a while, she must have realized something, and acknowledged my proposal. And we went to the room on the back of the first floor where the students are waiting, not the usual second floor. I arrive at the first floor room. It's one size larger than the usual room. The bed, shower and bathtub facilities are the same. And about 3 magical girl-class young girls were waiting. In Seinen, the sideline was lined up with girls of this age. And the girls who served at the no-hand restaurant Banaza were also of this age. This difference should be due to the store's management policy. Now everyone please listen. I will now be giving the final lesson. Sensei says to the students. What's the final lesson? This person here is Toro-sama. I believe that everyone here knows about him. Then, the girls' gazes swayed and began chattering excitedly in a low voice. It's Dr. Slime. Dr. Slime, he's the one who made the sideline sister into that state. Sensei quiets them down by clapping her hands. From now on, I will be having a match with Toro-sama in front of you. Sensei is. What will happen? What is this? Sensei claps her hand again and looks at the students with a slightly stern gaze. The girls became quiet at once. I will be using my full power in this match. My real full power, which I have never revealed to you before. Sensei cuts her words for a moment. What you see will be quite high level, so I hope everyone would learn something from it. I see, so the reason why Sensei accepted my proposal was to show her full power to the students as the final lesson. So here too, it will be rude to not use my full power as well. Then, Toro-sama, I'm looking forward to the match with you. Then, the curtain of the fierce match which would always remain in the memory of the students opens. I make the first move. Going behind Sensei, I hug her from the back and start my mischief. The clothes as usual were not taken off. My personal preference is to fiddle with the clothes on rather than immediately naked. I watch Sensei's light circulation and color temperature while touching. It's the usual grooming. When touching, I must not be impatient, not have any strange hand movements, and should be orthodox and error-free. This will push Sensei higher slowly but surely. However, as expected of Sensei, despite being captured from the back, she was giving out an effective counterattack. By just stroking the inside of my thigh, an electric current will run up my back. Cool, impressive techniques like always. I continue to touch while enduring desperately. My goal is not to raise her color temperature by grooming. It's gathering Sensei's information. Because of the message lectures using Sensei's body, I have quite an understanding on Sensei's body. But it is still not yet complete. My goal is to understand Sensei more than she understands herself. If I can understand everything about Sensei, I can win. On the other hand, if I don't, I won't be able to win. Sensei turns over and escapes my restraint. And then, combo techniques are brought out one after another, on strike, 3 continuous strikes, and 4 continuous strikes. I endure the sweet blows, and my waist was about to melt. I realized that I had to fight back, and so I unleashed the traditional skill from the construction industry. Fixed killer. This sweet-sounding skill was devised after windows that cannot be opened, such as those in the kitchen. Being strike with a technique from an unexpected angle, Sensei was on the verge of being hit by the fixed killer. She was able to escape last minute, but cold sweat is flowing down her forehead. But I too was also having cold sweat flowing down. No, I was on the overwhelmingly disadvantaged side. If I couldn't make distance from that technique, I might have been struck by the continuous combo technique. Scary, Sensei. I am aware that I have grown tremendously. However, Sensei is still a high wall for me now. But, today, I will go over it. The teachings from Sensei are the foundation for me. I want Sensei to feel how much I have grown and how much experience I have gained. After that, I continue to analyze Sensei, while desperately fending off her attacks. Analysis completed, 80%, just a little more. Sensei seems to feel that there is something from my actions. Surely, I was putting emphasis on defense. But my main purpose was to control my opponent's attacks rather than dealing damage. I am going to disguise it as much as possible so that she wouldn't notice it. 10% left. I continue my pattern of fighting while praying. Sensei's offensive is so intense that there is no time to change the pattern of my attacks. Oh no. The moment I finished my attack and pulled my waist back, Sensei closes the distance. A gap that can be said to be a chance, a slight delay that can be said to be a mistake, but in front of Sensei it is a terrible mistake. I was pulled at once, and she took the mount position. What? What is this? If the previous fixed killer a technique used by a man, then reverse fixed killer will be a technique used by a woman. However, reverse fixed killer is a technique that requires high accuracy. To think that there's still a female user remaining. That technique should have been gone after the Imperial Palace was built. Sensei, using her whole body, started stomping, and my mental blood sugar starts to rise. Due to this sweetness, I was on the verge of crisis. It was close to the state after drinking 1.5 liter of Fanta grape. Damn, is there nothing else I could do? I am losing. At this moment, I thought of it, that technique which have not yet been used. It's the monk's fist. It's a virtual weapon extension technique I created for the deep elves. Both Sensei and I are in the light cruiser class, so there wasn't any need to use it. But this is the only one left. Clinging on to her, I release a long-distance strike straight up. Release. Release. Dot. Unexpectedly, the effect is improving. My long-distance strike violently hit Sensei's innermost part, and the control of Sensei's body axis was slightly sweetened. From the impact of my strike hitting her innermost part, Sensei's distorts her face slightly. However, I will only earn a little time with this. If I continue this transition, Sensei's victory will not be shaken. Please, let me make it. There's no stopping once Sensei started her rhythmic movement, grinding and sucking. Being continuously hit by this sweet electrical sensation, I can see fireworks scattering in front of my eyes. The prime number I counted to endure has already reached 1999. Nostradamus. I scream. If this goes on, 7 angels appear blowing the trumpet and counting down the final judgment. And when the 5th angel started blowing the trumpet, I got what I had been waiting for a long time. Analysis completed, 100%. It's Sensei's information. I now understand Sensei's body, even more than she knows herself. More than her own, her parents, and even the doctor. I have now gotten hold of Sensei's password. Sensei's administrator authority is now mine. It's time for a counterattack. But I have to stay alert. Since my opponent is Sensei. If you are convinced of your own victory and grant your opponent a little more time, the situation will most probably be turned around during that time. Like me right now. So to not let her realize I am countering, I have to smash her consciousness away with a single blow. Aurea. I grab both the hip bones of Sensei who was mounted on me. Then, I pull the 30mm trigger of the Gatling gun made by General Electric Company. Sensei's offensive barrier that has been preventing my attacks until now is no longer able to prevent my attacks. Because I have completely analyzed Sensei, my attacks are able to easily slip through all of Sensei's barriers. Sensei jumps on me like a puppet with broken threads. But I will not let go of the trigger. Then Sensei bends like a bow. I was anxious about the spine breaker. But I won't loosen my grip on the trigger. The time I let go of the trigger, was when Sensei's bottom point was pierced by the bullets, flooding the surrounding. Sensei's consciousness has not yet returned. The students around me, after understanding what true battlefield looks like, were unable to speak. After a while, Sensei's consciousness gradually returned. Correcting her posture while staggering, she explains the current situation to the students. She really has a tremendous mental strength. If it was any other instead of Sensei in this state, even if you're from the sideline, you will be liquefied for 3 days. After the explanation to the students was finished, I gently make Sensei to get down on all fours. Toro Sama. This is, with no strength in her arms supporting the body, as a result, she was in a state where she was just raising her hips. Sensei, I came here to have complete victory over you. From now on, will be the finishing touches. Sensei becomes confused. The students are also startled by what will happen from now on. I knew everything about Sensei's body. As a result, I learned that Sensei still has some potential remaining. And I will develop it from now on. I gently stroke Sensei's rich hips. Despite resisting, Sensei is not able to escape because of the damage dealt to her when she lost to me. I continued gently and relaxingly. I enjoy looking at Sensei's reaction. And if not for me knowing everything about Sensei, I would have not been able to remove the lock which could only be opened through a complicated procedure. Sensei to maintain pure and serious, has mentally evaded and refused to develop the area. But it's not perfect. Just like unlocking a lock, it can be opened after spending delicate time and effort. After confirming that she was completely prepared, I entered Sensei's last undeveloped land from behind. Sensei's long scream continues without interruption. Her heart was screaming from aversion, and her body was screaming from joy. Hearing the scream consisting of two chords agitated the students' hearts, and they who couldn't stand listening, started covering their ears. Deeply, heavily and slowly I grind, as if a steam locomotive has started moving to carve this memories into Sensei's soul. And so, I have now complete victory over Sensei. As a price for this complete victory, I needed to pay 3 weeks compensation for absence from work, and so I had to sell my potions earlier than usual. And it was at this moment, a legend was born in JN. At the same time, it was also at this moment that I was banned from entering JN in a substantial sense. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes, west of Royal Capital, near the border. The shrubbery shadow stretches as it is shined red by the setting sun. The sound of birds returning to their nest, and the sound of insects vibrates the surrounding, inviting a feeling of nostalgia. Is what one would normally think, but now, in this land, only striking sound can be heard repeatedly. The large sound of metal colliding makes the birds escape and insects silent. The large mass kicks the earth, shaking the ground, driving the animals away from the forest. At the heart of the sound and vibration was two humanoids' figure. Although they possess a humanoid figure, they were not humankind. There's a difference in size. Seeing from the surrounding trees, its height is 10 times of a human, around 17 to 18 m. With a huge human-shaped body clad in full body armor and holding huge swords which commensurate their height, the fight has continued for over 1 hour. Tough guy. Cornier click his tongue in the pilot's seat. Thinking that it was going to be easy since he was a knight belonging to the National Chivalric Order, and his opponent was just a normal knight belonging to the criminal organization. But the opponent was more formidable than expected. A knight is a humanoid golem. Having a total height around 18 m, its figure is similar to a heavily armored infantry. Then, a pilot would sit in the cockpit, which is located in the inner part of the chest, controlling it and going into battle. They are controlled by using the pilot's magic power as the energy source, and move according to the pilot's skills, and it is the strongest military asset of the human race. No matter how skilled in magic one is, there are many weaknesses for a human who fights with just their living flesh. First, the defense. In the case of living flesh, one is not able to continuously keep up a magic barrier, and would faint when hit by a stone. And in the case of a knight, the pilot is sitting inside the golem of the knight, so they will not be hurt if the opponent is not capable of dealing damage that could destroy the golem. Next is offense. As long as magic is not used, there won't be much damage with just relying on physical attacks. But a knight's physical attacks are powerful. If you wield a huge hammer, you can destroy a stone tower in one strike, and if you wield a long and large sword, a large tree can be easily cut. Furthermore, if you were to have a magic circle which activates magic inside the cockpit, the pilot would just have to pour magic into it and will be able to use spells without chanting. And depending on the type of magic circle that has been built, each triggered circle would have a different spell. In other words, just by switching the circles, it is possible to use different spells. Also magic efficiency. Usually, magic that is cast outside by magicians, the strength of the spell would only be about 30% of the mana used in casting it. Most of it has been dispersed to the surroundings. However, in the case of a knight, the shell that surrounds the pilot in the cockpit is capable of trapping the mana that has been dispersed into the surroundings. Therefore the magic efficiency is able to reach 80%. Which is 3 times when used with just living flesh. For that reason, even when you have to move the golem using magic, you are still able to cast spells like a real magician. Housed in the cockpit of a robust golem, possessing huge physical strength, able to freely attack using magic. Accumulating knowledge and technology, the human race is able to make full use of their strength using this humanoid golem, and extinguishing the weaknesses of a magician with just living flesh. In the presence of a knight which combines a first-class pilot and a first-class fuselage, it is possible to confront even a large beast in a single combat. It is an existence that possessed this much power. However, even this seemingly omnipotent knight has a weakness. There are mainly two. One is that it is extremely expensive and takes a lot of time to construct. The shell that covers the cockpit is made by superimposing multiple layers of highly complex magic circles on a thin plate of mithril silver. By the way, in order to trap the various mana released by the magician, every layer of magic circle drawn is different from the others. And the other is that there are only a few that are capable of piloting it. This is because of the amount of mana possessed by each individual. In addition, not just the skill of operating the knight, but other high-leveled skills are also needed. No matter how high one's magic efficiency is, there are cases where the knight is needed to be piloted for a long period of time and activating spells in between. The larger the mana pool the pilot possesses, the better. Specifically, the amount of mana equivalent to that of a middle-class magician is required. And magic manipulation. This is an ability which links the pilot's perception with the knight and manipulate it at will. With this, you can see what the knight sees, and move the knight's body as if it were your own. But, the truth about magic manipulation has not yet been clarified. You can link your senses with the knight and control it. However, the mechanism of how this happens has not been elucidated. But to control a knight, this ability is a must. Until now, there is still no other possible way found to operate a knight capable of entering battle. Since the mechanism of how this work has yet to be clarified, there is no other alternative. It is such an ability. And it is rare to find people that are capable of magic manipulation. In addition, the method of acquiring magic manipulation has not been discovered so far. So there's no choice but to discover and raise inborn holders. From the above, the difficulty to operate a knight is at a national level. And each country are forming a knight order as their main military strength. That's why Cornier thought that the knight from a criminal organization near the border made from battlefield scrap would not be much of a threat. That guy's a national knight class. He revises his thoughts and attack. From the repeated crossing of swords, he judges his opponent's strength. Cornier felt that his opponent's way of fighting has changed. The unidentified knight starts retreating while fighting. But no openings was shown. When pursued, a sharp counter would be returned. This is as far as I go, I guess. While watching the unidentified knight withdraw, he sighs. He's reluctant, but he has to abandon the pursuit. He was the only knight belonging to the kingdom who was here. Even though the opponent is also just one knight, if by some chance he is defeated, the accompanying border guards will be annihilated. And the opponent is retreating outside the border, which is the imperial territory. Although it is to pursue the criminal organization, he is not allowed to enter unauthorized. And he is also low on mana. There is no reason for him to continue pursuit. Cornier watched the surroundings, which the border guards start investigating the criminal organization's hideout. A few days later, Cornier is now in the Knight's captain room in the Knight's headquarters in the royal capital. He is here for reporting. The inside of the criminal organization hideout was corroded by corrosion magic, so nothing is found. The Knight captain sighs after reading the report. He's a man in his prime, with an imposing white beard. It seems that the unidentified knight was earning time for the others to obliterate the evidence. After the knight retreated, not one person was found. The Knight captain stroked his beard, saying Fummel. But that knight's strength doesn't seem to be that of an irregular knight. It's my own opinion, but I think she is comparable to the middle class of the National Chivalric Order. Unidentified, and possessed the strength of a National Chivalric Order, it is possible that it is an Imperial Knight in disguise. Cornier nods. That knight wore nothing indicating where it is affiliated. And the appearance felt somewhat unnatural, as if the original ornaments were shaved off. Nevertheless, even if its true identity is an imperial knight, you can't get caught by the opponent's provocation. If they were to pursue relentlessly into the imperial territory, the other party could have used this as an excuse for starting a war. The kingdom knights have invaded the empire, and start a defensive war. The empire is powerful. In terms of national power, they are several times higher than the kingdom. In this world of the survival of the fittest, one is not allowed to give the other an excuse to start a war. Both of the nations understood this well. The knight captain glances at Cornier. I know it is regrettable to let the criminal organization slip, but your decision to not accept its provocation and pursue it further is correct. The imperial provocation will still continue hereafter, so please continue to prevent your own and your subordinates' outbursts. You've done well, you can go now. Receiving those words, Cornier bowed and left the room. Returning to the room where his subordinates were waiting, he passed on the contents of the conversation with the knight captain. But the thought of the empire being behind it never crossed my mind at first. Cornier says to his men. The origin of this affair was the crude potion that was circulating in the capital. Since quite an amount was circulated around, they work with the merchant guild to investigate the source. As a result, a large criminal organization rooted in the kingdom was discovered, and Cornier, who belongs to the kingdom knights, was ordered to investigate. And, after investigating the criminal organization and capturing people involved in the process, it turns out that the hideout was near the western border. After mobilizing the border guards to arrest them, it was not expected that the opponent possessed a knight, giving them room to get away with the evidence. Really? It's different if it's just within the kingdom. Now that it involves the empire, future investigation will be difficult. The subordinates shrugged their shoulders agreeing. We have no choice but to thoroughly investigate the traces left in the kingdom and build up the circumstantial evidence from there. Imagining the regret of not being able to round up the entire criminal organization and the effort that is needed to put into future work, Cornier sighs deeply. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes. On a certain holiday, when the sky is clear and blue and a cool breeze begins to blow, a knight's exhibition was held in the royal capital. The knights were marching down the main street after being inspected by the king in the royal castle. A mock battle between knights is also held outside the main gate. These 18 humanoid golems were either parading or competing against each other. This is one of the most popular exhibitions held in the royal capital. It takes place every year during this season, after the summer passes and before the autumn harvest begins. A lot of visitors also come from outside the royal capital, and the inns and plaza is filled with tourists. The chest of the marching knights opens and the pilot within waves his hand towards the cheering crowd along the road. A giant robot. Toro, while being engulfed by the crowd, was thrilled to see the marching knights. It was impossible to not get thrilled. He loves this sort of things. During his middle school days during class, he used to sketch an original design giant robot in his notebook. It's a Western armor design. Samurai armor type and weld/rivet nostalgic type are also great, but from a worldview this is the best. I agreed with my own opinion. I really want to see the cockpit. It may be a sensory tuning type or lever type. No, it may be a handle operation type. That was shocking. And it doesn't fit this world. Is it operated alone? Or is it broken up into two parts, on the head and chest? And I laugh obscenely. While piloting on the chest, the troublesome support will be left to the secretary on the head. And when feeling horny, you can let it out on the secretary. This setting is quite exciting. Really good. It was a really great idea. While imagining myself as the one piloting the giant humanoid robot, my face distort vulgarly. Oh, isn't it Toro? Perhaps he noticed me because of my vulgarly distorted face. A pilot whom I'm acquainted with called out to me. It seems I have come to the plaza after being swept away by the crowd of people when I was having delusions. The knights are displayed in the plaza, and the pilots are standing on the side while watching over the audience. Hey, Cornier. Working. Cornier calls me out from the park. He's not some self-proclaimed pilot from the Knights Chivalric Order. He is indeed a full-fledged pilot from the Royal Knights Chivalric Order. Why am I acquainted with a figure with such high status? It is because both of us are regulars at brothels, and we hit it off after talking at various places. Even before we knew each other, Cornier had been noticing me who possessed 2 titles Slime. And I was interested in Cornier who possessed the title Skewer Whirlwind. Yeah, I'm on assistant duty today. If you'd like, why don't you get in line as well? Saying that, Cornier smiles and points to the end of the line. I was a little disappointed, since I was thinking that I will get preferential treatment since we are acquaintances. Certainly, I will do so. Hearing my answer, Cornier nods and smiles. There was no need to harbor ill feelings. Since the pilots of the Knight Chivalric Order would not cut into the line even if the person is an acquaintance. After lining up for quite some time, it was my turn to sit in the cockpit. And piloted by an assistant pilot, the knight got down on one knee and stood up. It was only a few minutes, but it was a great experience. After getting out of the cockpit, I grasped Cornier's hand with excitement, and shook it up and down, to express my gratitude. If you really want to pilot it, you can also experience it in the mock cockpit. Cornier shows a wry smile. I returned the question. Mock cockpit experience. Yeah, you will be sitting in a mock cockpit of a knight, and will try moving the golem. His words enliven my heart. Not just the brothels, but also giant robots. How charming is this world. Well, even if I say golem, its overall height is only 50 centimeters, it's something like a toy. Seeing my eyes sparkling, Cornier seems to be taking precautions. But this consideration is needless. Even if it's a toy, just being able to pilot a golem is enough for me. I give my thanks to Cornier, and headed there. It is also a long queue here as well. It's a long line, but it's advancing quickly. I mutter to myself. In fact, it is advancing even faster than the night boarding experience previously. Soon, my turn draw near. Oh, so that is the mock cockpit. In front of me, there was a cockpit housed in the chest of the knight in an open state. And right beside, a 5 diameter magic circle is drawn, and in the center, a 50 centimeters golem was stretched out. Somehow, this golem looks like a toilet's pictogram. For its color, it seems to be made of some whitish stone, and its shape is very similar to the sign you find on a men's toilet. It will be the thing itself if it were blue. The one sitting in the cockpit will be moving the golem using the magic circle inside. I understand from looking at the person who was now sitting in the cockpit groaning. And at the same time, I also understood why this line was advancing quicker than the one before. Those who have no mana, will end without moving the golem. There were some who were able to move it, but most of them get bored after only being able to twitch it slightly after a few times. And that is why the line was advancing so quickly. Alright, let's do it. Like the previous person, I got into the cockpit and fire myself up. The cockpit looks like an orthodox lever type, but the lever does not move when gripped, and the pedal seems to only be a footrest, and it was not possible to step on it. The lever and pedal are triggers for attack spells, movement and support spells, so it is now made to not move. The instructor pilot answers my question politely with a smile when I asked. The driving force of the knight, it's the pilot's mana. It will be impossible to move it without mana. And when moving, it is not by using the lever or pedal, but the magic manipulation. Magic manipulation. I asked what he meant by magic manipulation. Yes, it is a method of piloting a knight, but there is no way to explain what it is right now. The pilot smiled while saying sorry. After hearing the explanation, it is now time to challenge piloting it. First is mana. I don't know if I have any mana, but I am able to use magic that I borrowed from the stone statue. Let's try activating it calmly. I cast Cure Injury spell, F, and slowly ooze it out. Then, the golem in front of my eyes, who was lying down like a puppet with its strings cut, stiffened its body while lying down. It seemed that you possess mana. Now, try to feel the movement of your mana, and move the golem. The pilot says joyfully. Movement of my mana, I thought to myself. During that time, the golem stiffens and then slackens as if trembling. It may be similar to light circulation, let's use that as the image. I close my eyes, while sensing my own light circulation, I try manipulating the golem. First, is to stand. As if I myself have become the golem, I imagine standing up slowly. Like when I was activating the monk's fist, I need my spirit, into a virtual gun barrel with a sensory feedback. In that image, it was responding as if I was steering a car. The image conveys the position of the center of gravity and the state of balance of the golem, just as the steering conveys the road surface. And also my crotch as well. It is possibly unavoidable. It is because when I was imagining the virtual gun barrel with sensory feedback, like the golem, my son was reacting as well. Too, while feeling the frustration between my crotch, I somehow maintain balance and stand up. The surrounding becomes suddenly astir. Oi, he made it stand. Ooh, it's my first time seeing it stand. Listening to the surrounding noise, just in case, I look towards my crotch. No problem, it's not standing. Even if it's me, I will die in agony if I was to become erect right in front of everyone. What the surrounding is referring to must be the golem. While I looked over there, the golem stood with its hips sticking out and swing both its arms forward while trembling. The moment I see this spectacle, I lost focus and the golem turned over. Oof, I startled for an instant from the impact. Phew, I sigh, with an embarrassed grin I look towards the pilot. The pilot, with a serious look, was staring at me sharply. Hi. My sound leak out before I know it. Seeing my frightened state, the pilot got back to his senses. An awkward smile floats on his face and starts praising me. The queue is still long. To let the next person in, I left the mock cockpit. When I was wearing the cloak which I had taken off, I was called out by the pilot. It seems, he wants me to go to the tent in the back. Oh, I wonder if this means I have a talent or something. I smile with satisfaction in my heart. From the voices from the surrounding earlier, I seem to have gotten into a good line. If you were to ever get the chance of riding a giant humanoid robot and pilot it yourself, please do so. I, who had gladly accepted the pilot's invitation, was guided to the tent in the back. When I enter the tent, I was offered a chair. And a lady with thick make-up serves me tea. Rather than the smell of tea, the smell of makeup is more intense. After a while, the pilot who guided me came back with an elderly man. And they both sit down in front of me. According to the self-introduction, this elderly man seems to also be in the Knights Chivalric Order and was also that pilot's superior. Toro, you may have the talent of becoming a pilot. If you don't mind, can we do a little more detailed examination? Okay. If you don't mind me. I give an immediate answer. A humanoid giant robot is waiting for me. There is no other answer for me right now. Then, without delay, please come over here. The pilot takes me to the back of the tent. In the back of the tent, there was a device similar to the mock cockpit previously. It is similar, but this one is constructed more elaborate. If that was for simple event use, this will be for regular training use. The golem lying in the magic circle is also larger at a height of about 1 m, and the appearance is also the same as a knight itself. A sophisticated figure covered with Western armor. If I was in my previous world, I would have asked for the price with my wallet in hand. Before we start, let me give you a little explanation. The pilot began to explain. The knight cannot be pilot unless he or she possesses mana or be able to use any kind of magic above E rank. To maneuver the knight, the ability magic manipulation is needed. And it is rare to find people who possess this ability. The test that will be conducted will not only check the minimum mana you need to have, but also whether you have the ability magic manipulation. Then, please sit in the cockpit. As far as magic manipulation is concerned, there is no other way but try it out. Being prompt, I sit in the cockpit. Then, please try it the way you like. Yes, I reply, and start immediately. Closing my eyes, I take a deep breath. While feeling the flow of light circulating within me, I activate F rank magic and melt it into my light circulation. I felt my inner self being filled with F rank magic. Immediately, I realized that my mana was flowing into the golem. The extended virtual gun barrel is no longer the incarnation of my son like before. I changed the image to myself becoming the golem itself. Then, in order to move the golem, I direct my consciousness into the golem. And suddenly, the front of my eyes lit up. Is this the scenery reflected in the eyes of the golem? It was another point of view which was not mine, the image of the tent was spreading into my consciousness. At the same time when I'm surprised, I understood. Slowly, I turn the neck of the golem. Sitting in the mock cockpit with my eyes closed, I can see. Right beside, I can see the elderly man and pilot staring at the golem seriously. Yes. It's a success. Feeling excited about being able to pilot the golem, my heart heats up. But still, I did not expect that piloting a golem feels this way. A sense synchro system. In particular, being able to synchronize with the golem's eyes. Carefully taking balance, I stand up. And slowly, I walk around. It was like riding a radio-controlled car with a camera. Looking at my own hands, I move my fingers. It's moving as well. Oh, it's so precise. Slowly getting familiar, I walk around the magic circle happily. It seems that I can only pilot it inside this magic circle. If I went outside, the link would break and I won't be able to move it. Occasionally, I tried imitating the poses of robots I see in anime. It's a pity that there is no mirror. The elderly man and pilot are staring as if they were holding their breaths. Toro had not yet noticed how high his magic manipulation ability was. The experience he had gained in brothels, the lessons from Instructor Light, and Magic Eye. Using Magic Eye, he is able to grasp the light circulation of himself and others. And, the monk's fist which was acquired to defeat the elves. And this virtual extension barrel with feedback could be used to manipulate the golem as if it was his alter ego. Although it was not his intention, Toro's training refined his magic manipulation ability to a domain that could not be compared to a normal person. And that ability was the most required for being a pilot. No words were coming out of the elderly man and pilot. They have remained silent from a while ago. Although it's a 1M high golem used for training, there were rarely any who were able to manipulate it so naturally. Furthermore, it's the first time seeing someone who is able to cheerfully manipulate one. They remained silent until they were called out by Toro, who was happily playing in the golem. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes, how is it? Toro asked with a smile. He has not yet realized what level he is at. And only feels a little confidence in his skill. The elderly man and the pilot looked at each other and nodded. Even without words, they understood each other. They were holding this night's exhibition event in the hope of finding promising pilots. And right now, in front of them stands this promising pilot. All that's left is securing him. Toro.san, by all means, please come to the pilot school. The elderly man's face flushed with excitement. Pilot school. I tilt my head, for this is my first time hearing this word. The elderly man starts explaining. In the royal capital, there is the sole pilot school in the kingdom. There, those who passed the entrance examination, those who were scouted like me and those who were recommended by influential people, would study there. Oh, I see. From what I understand from the elderly man's words, that it is quite a special school. There is only a single objective, acquiring the power to freely manipulate a knight, and becoming a pilot of the Royal Knights Chivalric Order, a specialized school. It seems that there is no concept of graduation. If you gain good achievement in the campus, you will be noticed by the Chivalric Order. The Chivalric Order would call you out, participating in their training and measuring your abilities. If you are judged that you have the efficient strength for the Chivalric Order, you would be recruited as a pilot. This is the graduation. A pilot would not be able to go through the normal concept of automatic graduation. What would happen if you participate in the training of the Chivalric Order, and were not recruited? I asked. You will return back to school and continue studying there, until the Chivalric Order calls out to you again. I see, and I nod. But that is not always the case. The elderly man continues to explain. All the expenses for maintaining the pilot school comes from the country. Not just the school fees, uniforms and teaching material are also provided. If deemed you have financial difficulties, meals will be provided by the dormitory. That's amazing. I'm impressed. It is to this extent that shows how much a pilot is valuable to the country. As such, you are not able to continue enrollment if you were to keep on not being recruited as a pilot. If you do not bud, you will be expelled from the school. It can't be helped. I took the opportunity and asked what kind of classes I would be attending. I was quite surprised by the answers from the elderly man. The curriculum seems to be completely self-selective. While there are practical classes and various lectures offered, students can choose to attend the lectures they want to attend. This is because of the technique magic manipulation. To acquire and polish this unknown technique, it is up to each person. If you think that practical skills using golem is necessary, you can continue to select only practical skills class. If you think that magic theory is the way to acquiring it, you can choose to take basic magic or practical magic classes. And if you think that knowing the structure of the golem is necessary, you can attend classes on structural studies, material science, and golem design maneuvering. If you think that all is unnecessary, you can choose to not attend any of the classes. It's really an amazing school. It's really thorough. The elderly man nods. However, practical tests that are performed regularly are mandatory. And those who obtain good scores on the test, will be able to participate in the Chivalric Order training. It's a very self-responsible school based on meritocracy. Quite interesting, I honestly thought so. I really want to pilot a knight. This is my honest feeling right now. There are many dangers in this world, my life now, there are many things to consider, but I will be true to myself. I want to become a knight's pilot. I of course feel uneasy. If I were to become a pilot of the Chivalric Order, I may have to participate in war. Even if I'm not recruited, discipline there will be as tough as the military. There is no doubt that my life will be much more cramped than it is now. But, still, I want to become a knight's pilot. This is what it means to be incurable. In the time when I was an office worker, I wanted to quit the company when I was suffering. If I were to win the lottery, I would leave the company and live my days enjoying. And now that dream has come true. I do not belong to any company, I can play with women every day, and there is no trouble with life. Even though I am living such an ideal life, I still feel like joining the Chivalric Order. Honestly, I can't even understand myself. But even so, I can't suppress my strong feelings toward the knight. I may even be killed by this hobby of mine. I really think so. But still, I want to try. That is the answer that I reach. And so I decided to attend the pilot school. After my decision, the remaining conversation was concluded quickly. I was told to come to the pilot school tomorrow. I was also told to check the size of the uniform I needed, so I would be able to receive it tomorrow morning. Textbooks and other educational materials are already reserved in the school. I would be going to the pilot school's office tomorrow morning, empty-handed. I understand, I'll be there tomorrow. I said so when I finished my measurements and left the tent. It's been 10 years since I last attended school. I thought so while looking up at the sky. In the sky, the figure of the knight from the exhibition was reflected. Thinking about my student life from tomorrow, I went to the red light district. I'm now in front of a certain brothel. It is the recently opened brothel which is on the flyer that I received last time. I somewhat have a bad premonition. The building has a somewhat cheeky feel, and has a catchphrase that says, "We offer you what you truly want." It gives of the smell of a mercenary in the industry. That's right. It is a restaurant with a transparent ceiling, a fast food brothel, which is the feeling the atmosphere gives. Let's go in first. Anything is an experience. In spite of being taught by the aunt at the dating coffee shop Bell Talk, I entered the shop without learning. After opening the door, there was a small corridor with only a reception. When I'm looking around the difference between an ordinary brothel and here, uncles who came in later, pays money at the reception and went into the back one after another. I thought about asking about the system at the reception desk, but my pride as a brothel regular did not allow it. To not look like an amateur, I decided to follow after the uncles. I pay in silence at the reception desk. It's cheap. About half the price of a middle-class brothel. I received 2 cards. One would be required for the front, and 2 for the back. You can also purchase additional ones at the reception in the back. I have no idea what he's talking about. My uneasiness is increasing. Nervously I pushed the door open, and went into the back room. There a huge lobby spreads out. Is as expected or is it not? What is this? I am amazed at the sight which I have never seen before. First of all, women are lined up on both sides of the wall. But this is not normal. All of them from their belly up were sticking out from the wall. Which means, the back from their belly are buried behind the wall. Women with only their upper body sticking out from the wall, have their elbows on a small table, were sending winks my way. In the center of the room, there are a number of seats, and a good number of uncles are watching the women on the wall while having a drink. Watching. What are they watching? It's women, but not in normal state. Sometimes, there will be uncles who leaves their seats and goes to the reception in the back. The uncles would hand over 2 cards and disappears into the door at the back. And after a few 10 seconds later, a woman start uttering voices and begins to react. It was the woman which the uncle that enters the back door just now was looking at. The woman grabs the small table and shakes. The old man in the center who is watching seems to be overjoyed. And after a while, being triggered, a number of uncles stood from their seats, and disappears into the back door. And the same thing repeats. The table shakes. Wait, no. One of the uncles came back alone. From the chest pocket of the uncle, 1 card can be seen. To enter the back 2 cards is needed. That has been confirmed. Which mean he has used 1 card. When I started thinking about what it means, I remembered the words of the receptionist at the entrance. 1 would be required for the front, and 2 for the back, is what he said. No way, in public. It was that way. In public. But it was more than what I expected. The uncle passed by the woman in normal condition, and stood in front of the woman in the midst of shaking, moved the small table behind him and feasted. In public. I don't know if both the uncles are acquaintance or not, but there's a standing ovation. Which really rouse up the excitement. The woman who was feasted was eagerly partaking in both a visible and non-visible place. This is really tough. Screams of the uncles at the table can be heard. They are talking with a sloppy grin, while pointing at the woman who was in the midst of an intense meal. There another standing by at the back of this person. I don't really understand what they are saying, so I just continue watching. After a while, it seemed the person behind has finished his meal, and the woman calmed down a little. But a few seconds later. Suddenly, the woman bends backwards extensively. The uncle in front guides with both hands, so that the woman does not spill his food. Ah, the back started again. I'm sure of it. She will continue to be fed continuously, even after just being fed. I have such dirty thoughts. The uncles who are watching are overjoyed. But this kind of dirtiness is great. I affirm. This is not a lawless place. This business is carried out with acknowledgement from both sides. And the receptionist is always monitoring. If you can't, then say that you can't. But no one is moving on the shop side. Or maybe this is what sells. And I myself, this kind of continuous technique, have something similar to my favorite syndrome fetish. I get very excited while seeing someone embarrassed. Thinking about the woman who is next to the woman who was feasting, whose cheeks were dyed a little red while peeking, I walk towards the reception at the back. I'll go with the front mouth of the back. No, I should go with the back mouth of the back. Yes, let's go with that. I went into the back door and walked through the dark passage behind the wall while thinking about such things. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes. And so, I approached stealthy behind the back, and strike an impact into the deepest point. Then I got a first turn kill. I talked happily to Imasuk and Dangaru after returning from the shop. I am now at the garden forest. I live in the room on the third floor of a 3-story building. Even though it isn't as wide as the first and second floor, there is a garden on the third. And there stands a tree that grew from medical herbs after giving it multiple S.rank potions, and various plants that grew from the feces of Imasuk, making it a small forest. A forest in the garden, so garden forest. Is why I named it. Both Imasuk and Dangaru are spirit beasts and also my family. Imasuk is from a genus called sage of the forest, with the appearance of a fifth-age larva of a swallowtail butterfly. One with the ability of growing various plants from its feces. It's a spirit beast summoned from the spirit forest and given to me by the elves. Dangaru, although its genus is not yet officially known, has the appearance of a pill bug. He once also lived in the spirit forest, but was apparently persecuted by the elves as an unpleasant pest, and came here with an invitation from its friend, Imasuk, becoming a part of my family. I'm the one speaking, and the other two were the ones listening. I do not know whether they understood what I'm talking about, but they seem to be listening with interest. Putting that aside, you guys seem to have grown larger. It feels like looking at your family members growing. Imasuk full length is now 20 centimeters and Dangaru is now 15 centimeters. And Dangaru's diameter when curling up into a circle is now 10 centimeters. One will probably be surprised when seeing it for the first time, but I'm used to it. They look quite cute to me. The garden forest has already become a complete diorama forest. There are various plants growing. Compared to an actual forest, it will only be the size of the leaves. The garden forest is made like a bonsai, so the leaves are larger. By the way, the farmhouse model that I placed half in jest is now perfectly adept. And Dangaru has also made a road connecting it to my house. Is it because of Imasuk's blessing? It seems that the plants were not injured when moving them to the side. And every morning, I will be supplied with fruits. This morning I chose a loquat and ate it. See you, Imasuk, Dangaru. Good night, I'll see you tomorrow. After saying that, Imasuk climbed onto a branch of the medical tree. And Dangaru went below a random rock. This tree has really grown. Its height of about 3 m has not changed much, but the trunk thickness and the length of the branches have increased. This tree is the heart of the garden forest. Dangaru aside, Imasuk will not eat anything other than this tree's leaves. It will be bad if it withered. I look at the diorama. Like garden forest lit up by the stars while patting the trunk with my hand. Although small, this is a world centered on this medical tree. I'll leave this world to you, medical tree. When I mumbled, Pashi, I felt something. For example, when a screen lit up when you touched it in sleep mode. And a voice echoes in my heart. Confirm that target tree met the requirements. Confirm that applicant has the requirement to make this application. I look around in surprise. The only thing that can be seen is Imasuk rushing out from the back of the branch and Danguru crawling out from the ground below the rock. What? I speak. Please select the manager. Not understanding, I look at Imasuk and Danguru. My two family members seem to be in a panic. When I look at them silently, I feel as if Imasuk is telling me reply quickly. For now, I will follow Imasuk's instruction. Then me. If it's asking for the manager of the medical tree, then it will be me. I thought so and answered. The target does not have the necessary qualifications for a manager. Please choose again qualifications. Even in another world, qualifications are still needed. What a strict society. Then, Imasuk. I point at my family. If it's not me, it should be Imasuk. The target has been registered as manager. There doesn't seem to be any problem. I'm not sure what qualifications it has, but it seems to have it even before I know it. It's the type of junior who studies behind the scenes and took a first-class qualification in one shot. This guy. Please choose an assistant manager. An assistant is also needed. There is only one more capable guy here. Danguru. I point at Danguru. Danguru seems to be startled for some reasons. The target has been registered as assistant manager. You also have qualifications, huh? It seems that the only person without qualifications is the boss, me. This is bad, really bad. I don't know other industries, but it's really bad for someone in the technical field in a construction industry. The manager will obtain the title Defender of Origin, assistant manager will obtain the title Guardian of the Tree. They are both cooler than my title Gate Opener. All requirements authorization has been confirmed. Authorization processing. Cancel. According to the stipulations of the Great Charter, more than 2 existences will not be recognized. Process will be deferred until there is only one existence. I have no clue about what it's saying. Please say it in a way I can understand. That's all. After speaking unilaterally, the line was cut off by someone, I have no idea who. Nothing else happened after waiting a while. Even so, to think that something magical like this would happen when deciding the manager for the medical tree. What a scary magical world. They know not just my qualifications, but also my private life. It's a crisis of personal information. Looking at my family members, Imasuk is twisting with joy and Danguru is trembling quietly. Imasuk seems to be in great joy from the feeling I receive from it. I don't think that there would be anything different in the managing of it now and before. Is it something to be happy about? I rethink my thoughts. Imasuk was treated as an unneeded being by the elves. Danguru was persecuted in the spirit forest as an unpleasant pest. And the two received a title for being officially recognized. I can understand why they are so happy. For a while, I watched my happy family members with a grin. By the way, what are the qualifications that you guys have? I'm quite interested in the qualifications that my family members possessed. If it's something easily obtained, as the boss I should obtain it too. But the two replies are I don't know. For a while we thought silently. Spirit beast. Imasuk says. The qualification that Imasuk and Danguru had that I didn't was that they are spirit beasts. I see, so that was it. You're really smart, Imasuk. If the qualification was being a spirit beast, of course I didn't have it. Satisfied that my dignity as the boss is preserved, I left the two and went towards my bedroom. The next day, in the morning I headed to the pilot school. Recently, I'm always free in the morning, so there was no problem. The pilot school is located east of the Royal Castle and further east of the Royal Academy of Magic. After arriving, I headed straight to the office. Oh, Toro.san, good morning. The elderly man greets me with a smile. Good morning. And also, I will be a student starting today, so please just call me Toro. In response to my reply, the elderly man looked into my eyes for a moment, and changed his expression. Yuri, right. Toro, from today on you will be calling me Sensei. Yes, I understand. I said so and laugh. It's really a funny atmosphere for two old men. I receive both my uniform and textbooks. And I quickly change my clothes in the locker room. The uniform is olive drab and looks similar to a tank soldier's uniform. The uniform itself is cool, but to be honest, it doesn't suit me. Looking at my appearance, the elderly teacher did not say anything but keep a gentle smile. Then, using the remaining time until the first lecture, I was told the timetable of the lectures and the location of the school's facilities. First I chose practical classes. I didn't even have the basic knowledge about knights and pilots, so I sought the knowledge about them widely and shallowly. I take notes eagerly. I have not studied this much since taking my first grade construction management engineer examination. I continued choosing practical classes for the entire morning. Each lecture takes about 45 minutes and takes one frame. And 15 minutes rest and class moving time. This is just right for me, 90 minutes for one frame is too long. It was lunch, so I headed to the student cafeteria. Lunch break is 1 hour. Pushing my chicken sauté with a fork, I observe the surroundings. I thought about it during the lecture, but it's mostly teenagers. And there were only a few people that were around my age. The youngsters were from the entrance examination group and us older ones are from the scout group. And everyone like me, are wearing the tank soldier-like uniform. I don't know if there were any female tank soldiers, but this. Half of the students are female. Their uniforms are the same as me, but the bottom is a skirt. And it's tight, ending slightly above the knees. So, when you look at their figure when they are taking a seat from the front, you can see an inverted triangle between their thighs. It only seems to be visible, and it is actually a shadow, it's too dark and not visible. This visible yet not visible situation and these healthy thighs, splendid. I keep trying to look as much as possible, because this is not a brothel. To be able to look at military uniform-clad women and their thighs, this alone made it worthwhile to be enrolled here. After I'm satisfied and finishing my meal, I took a nap in a vacant seat. In the afternoon, in order to learn practical skills, I headed toward the facility with a simulator cockpit. Thinking that I was able to operate it to some extent yesterday, I took the one for intermediate level. The beginner's class was about standing up, and there will be a mock battle at the end of the intermediate class. The mock battle seems fun, but I avoided it and decided to take the previous stages before it. It's fine. But it's better to go to a mock battle next time. I received a seal of approval from the teacher in charge. It's true, the students around me seems to be only able to walk around staggering. The simulator cockpit here and the knight-like golem miniature are exactly the same as what I experienced yesterday. If there is a difference, it will be the size of the magic circle drawn on the floor. Is it about the size of a kendo or judo match space? And there, a number of golems were staggering around. Here as well, there is no shell covering the cockpit. I have learned from the practical class lecture, that the entire cockpit is covered in a mithril silver shell. The knight's heart achieves 80% magic efficiency by absorbing mana of the pilot. There is no such thing in the simulator cockpit. The student sitting in it is exposed. When I asked the instructor about this out of curiosity, he said that an expensive shell was not necessary to move a golem with a height of 1 meter. The next frame will be a mock battle. The mock battle was very fun. The battle with the golem's point of view was like playing a robot FPS game. The opponent, unlike the student from the previous frame, is able to move while withstanding the battle. But from my point of view, it's awkward. Walking lightly and sometimes running, I was able to get my golem behind them. And I slashed them in the back. With this tactic, I won all the fights. In the middle of the mock battle, I could even afford to enjoy watching the opponent girls up. Skirt view from the golem's perspective. Wearing a tank soldier-like uniform, with a tight skirt a little above knee below. And sitting in the simulator cockpit. With my naked eyes, the inverted triangle that is shadowed between the thighs seems to be both visible and not. So, this is where the 1-meter-high golem with its vision linked to mine makes its appearance. As a man, I cannot afford to not see the female student that is focused on the battle. Whose body instinctively synchronized when operating the golem, holds out one of her legs. Then, wrinkles approach on the surface of the triangle. I'm then filled with a sense of satisfaction as if I have seen a rare natural scenery. This is what's called a sight for sore eyes. A young female with 2 moderately trained healthy thighs, and a triangle at the intersection. Are the words I use to express the vision that I have experienced. Because of the golem's perspective, I'm able to zoom in on it. And my golem keeps chasing that scenery persistently with its eyes. You won't get tired of it no matter how many times you look at it, certainly a living art. At this time, being too distracted by the sight in front of me, I was attacked for the first time since the mock battle started. I was diagonally slashed across the front. Ah! My golem flips back, and was not able to stand. It was my first defeat. Even after the mock battle is over, I wasn't able to stand from the cockpit. The instructor came and asked worriedly if I was okay. Sorry, I'm alright. Please just let me rest a while. The instructor made a puzzled expression and acknowledged it. What an impact, this is really tough. My senses are shared with the golem. And that golem was diagonally slashed across the front. I'm unable to move from the shock and pain. Injuries? None. It seems to be only feeling. I judge after checking my body. However, even without external injuries, this pain is really unbearable. Foo, I repeatedly breath heavily. My cold sweat does not stop flowing. As expected, pilot school is really tough. So I realized once again. The guys I've defeated so far, regardless of gender, other than having a frustrated expression, seem to be completely fine. Unlike myself, who is crouched down groaning in pain. To them, is pain of this degree not a problem. Inside me, the view of the surrounding is greatly changed. All the students that I thought were the same as me suddenly began to look like mysterious monsters. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Carriage Editor. Weaselopes. Oh, so that's why. I was satisfied after the explanation. It seems that I was unique. During the class break, I caught hold of the instructor and asked him about the feedback that I felt when the golem was damaged. According to the answer I received, normally it will just be a feeling of impact, there is no such thing as feeling pain. In some rare cases, when the link between the golem is too great, there are times when you will feel pain. The instructor said when I was riding, there were times like this. The instructor then now knows I was crouching down in the cockpit earlier because of the pain feedback, praises me saying you have great sense, but this is really a big problem for me. At this rate I won't feel like fighting anymore. I have to think of a way to fight. I have hit a huge wall on the first day. The next day, I participated in the practical class in the morning and the intermediate class mock battle in the afternoon. That's when I realized. I'm really, compared to the average person, moving with less mana. The instructor gave me counseling from yesterday's data. In your case, if 1 mana is needed to move an arm, you will only be using 1 mana to move the arm, the instructor says. Well, that's normal, isn't it? Is what I thought, but no. However, those who are not accustomed, will use 5 mana to rise an arm, and another 4 mana so as to not rise it too much and lower the arm. The instructor continued mildly. If I need to spend only 1 mana, only 1 mana will be spent. From the example right now, 5 mana, for mana equals 1 mana, the total used mana will be 9 mana to produce a 1 mana effect. Indeed, too much is wasted. Your sense is really great. As expected from the scout group. The instructor seems to be happy. And he showed me the data of my mana consumption. For comparison, I was also shown the data of other students. Compared to the students who were in the same intermediate class doing mock battle, I was spending much less. There is no doubt thanks to this efficiency. You may possess only a small amount of mana, but there's a technique that can compensate for it, so do your best. The instructor encourages me. It's not that the amount of mana I possess is small, but the amount of mana I consumed on the data is small because I did not use them, but I don't think it is necessary to correct this misunderstanding. I have found out when maneuvering the golem that the magic stored in me can be used as an alternative to mana. But if I repeatedly spend my stored up magic, I will definitely stand out. For my impossible amount of stored up magic. If it's technique, it can be explained. And this technique is not given for free, but will have to be honed by myself. I can be proud of it in public. Thank you. After saying my thanks, I went to the cockpit to take part in the mock battle. After that, my performance for the intermediate class today was quite good. Learning from yesterday's painful experience, I fought more cautiously. Like always, I aimed for the back, and as much as possible not to enter the range within the reach of the opponent's sword. My ability to steer the golem at will is much higher than the students in the same class as me. There were only a few opponents who could follow my maneuvers. Sometimes I will be struck by the sword. But knowing that it will come, to some extent I'm able to endure it. In return, I smashed my opponent with my sword while clenching my teeth. It will be okay if you enter the advanced class soon. The instructor advised me. There is just 1 frame left for today's class. I was worried about tomorrow, but I decided to join the advanced class. This is not good. My body has become stiff in the cockpit. Of course, the movement of the advanced class is smoother than the intermediate class. But more than that, they fight skillfully. Their golem's movements are smoother than mine. However, whether it is a technique or construction of it, once your movement is read you are defeated. It feels like an experienced fighter easily defeating an amateur. To be honest, I'm not even seen as an opponent in close combat. When I desperately take distance, an attack magic would come flying. When this happens, I completely lose control. All I could do was crouch in the cockpit. There's really a difference in players' skill. Is the way I felt after losing continuously. The difference between those who have learned how to fight and those who do not, the difference in experience and the difference in sense. When I'm feeling this, the bell for the end of school rang. This is the end of lectures by the teachers. There are a total of 6 frames, 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. After that, the student can train themselves until the school closes. The library, gymnasium and schoolyard can be used freely, but not the simulator cockpit. I was not thinking of training myself, so I headed to the gate. And I thought, how should I fight tomorrow? I have to think of something. To put my thoughts together, I went to the red light district. I did not go to any store, but just wander around. I continued thinking while walking around. I walked 10,000 steps, but still could not think of any idea. It's useless, I'm stuck. For a change of pace, let's enter that shop. When I thought so, I saw a familiar figure walking in front of me. It's Skewer Whirlwind. Cornier.san, over here. I call out while waving my hand. Noticing, he came over with a smile. Toro.san, which shop are you going to today? He asked. Recently, we have often gone to shops together. I have not decided yet, I was thinking about something. That's when I realized. Cornier is a pilot belonging to the chivalric order. He may be able to give me advice on how to fight in the advanced class. I decided to ask for his advice. There's something I would like Cornier.San's advice on. I will treat you to tea, can you listen? I pointed to the No.Hand restaurant Bonanza a little ahead and said. When he realized my meaning of tea, he nodded with a lewd smile. And that is why I was wondering if you have any good idea. I explained briefly about the course of events and what happened today at pilot school. Of course, also including that I was more sensitive on the feedback than the average people. Cornier receives a mouthful of lemon tea from a lady with a tough face and thick makeup. He takes his mouth off the bright red lips, licking his lips astonished, and says, "Wow, it's amazing Toro.San. I knew you were famous in this industry, but I didn't know you also had the talent to be a pilot. It's just a coincidence. I answered while gently rubbing the girl that was sitting on my lap. Not too big and not too small, it's just the right size that fits in the palm of my hand. Of course, sometimes I have her turn around to drink jasmine tea. Because magic manipulation can be applied to women as well, and it's because of that is what I think. Cornier nodded as if he were impressed by my words. Magic manipulation and women. You're right, it seems I have to practice more as well. Encouraging each other, we both laugh. This here is a tea room of a No.Hand restaurant. It is a stylish space where you can enjoy playing with women while drinking tea. Like the words say, this No.Hand restaurant is a restaurant where customers can eat without using their hands. The meals will all be aided by the women. And is designed so that customers can play freely with their hands. There are various courses, but in the upper course, the women, too, will feed you without using their hands. Before, when I chose the top course, 3 women aided me, offering me a dream-like time. It is now one of my favorite shops these days. Close combat will be too difficult for Toro.San. Cornier says after thinking for a while. The feedback you receive from damage is too sensitive. No matter how much you practice and gain experience to improve your close combat skills, you will not be able to compete with an opponent who doesn't feel pain. That's true. When I feel pain, my movement will be dulled. And I will be afraid to move forward. Because of my high level of magic manipulation, I'm more deeply synchronized with the golem compared to the average person. Because of that, whenever the golem takes damage, my whole body would feel the pain. But with this sense of sensitivity, it will manifest a high maneuvering accuracy. Which means, there is not only disadvantages but also advantages. I think it will be better if you focus on magic attacks. Magic attack. I asked in response. Yes, it will be the problem on how much mana you possess, but I think this is the only way. And he continues explaining. Taking advantage of your high maneuvering accuracy, you can snipe from a distance. And run away. Run away is it. And after taking some distance, snipe again. And repeat this pattern. With this explanation, I imagined myself fighting. In the meantime, my hands continue catching the twin hills that tried to hide and escape. I personally think that this act of rubbing it is the best when thinking about things. By the way, I named this tea house Sage Room. It's perfect when you are reading a difficult book or thinking. It can also be used for serious meetings like right now. Which means abandoning close combat, and focusing on magic attack, sniping and escape. Cornier nods at my words. The lady with a tough face and thick makeup has already dived under the table, helping Cornier with his thoughts with her red lips. Cornier, who seems to have got his thoughts together, raised the name of a certain attack magic. For now, light arrow magic missile is recommended. It's easy to handle, and it consumes little mana. Seeing me repeat light arrow magic missile in my mouth, he gives me an example on how to fight using it. Avoid close combat, and continuously shoot light arrow magic missile from a long distance. If you have an opponent who is close. Range, Toro.San's high accuracy will be your advantage. It seems to be so. I answered so since I have no experience using attack magic. By the way, the girl who is on my lap is bending her body too much. I can't talk calmly. To make her submit, I place her hard summit between my fingers and apply my strength gently and slowly. At first, her reaction became bigger, but after realizing my intention, she gradually submits. Yes, good girl. I whisper in the ear of the girl who was breathing lightly. After confirming that the girl had been dealt with, Cornier resumed his explanation. If the opponent wants close combat, keep shaving him with light arrow magic missile as he gets closer, and run away again at the right point. I nodded and asked a question. What if the opponent rushes in recklessly? Right. When that happens, you can escape using movement magic. I tilt my head at this foreign word. Looking at my expression, Cornier looks at me with an expression saying I have not studied enough. He clicks his tongue and shakes his index finger left and right. There is a pedal in the cockpit right. When you step on in while applying mana, wind magic will be emitted from the vernier and you can move quickly at high speed, he says, while stroking the hair of the lady with tough look and thick makeup who is under the table. Speaking of which, I think I heard about it somewhere. It seems that the girl is at her limit after being touched. So I decided to put my knees on the floor and touch it with no hand. I combed the soft hair of the girl with my fingers. Leveraging mobility to conduct long range artillery battle. The armor is paper, so it will be over if I get caught. I thought. It has quite some romance to it. Yeah, romance is great. Everyone has a longing for dreams and adventures. Indeed, there will be a problem on how much mana will be consumed. But, I am said to have good efficiency, I should try it. Or, to be honest, I am not able to think of any other ideas. I decided to adopt Cornier's idea. Thank you. As expected of Cornier.San. I give my thanks. But there was no reply from Cornier. I look over at his situation. He was in the middle of job changing into a sage. Well then, I'll also job change. I request the girl to increase the pace. The girl responds to it sincerely. I think of it every time, the employees of this shop are really of high quality. A solid education must have been carried out. Soon, after successfully changing our jobs, we sally forth towards the night shopping district.